This is the story of Altis in 1974. The communist takeover, the resulting naval battles between NATO and Warsaw Pact forces, and its eventual recapture by the British. The islands that would become the Republic of Altis and Stratis have known conflict from the early 20th century until modern times. Historians of Altis and Stratis tend to focus on events on land. But locals know they live on islands. They are surrounded and their lives are dominated by thalassa, the sea. And they know that control of the islands inevitably falls to those who exercise thalassocratia, sea power. Naval Air Station Suda Bay on the Akrotiri Peninsula on the Greek island of Crete in the southern Aegean. The base was originally British, now Greek, notionally NATO, and actually American. A P-3C Orion maritime patrol aircraft taxis to the runway. The airbase is co-located with Chania International Airport. Naval Air Station Suda Bay is home to the NATO Anti-Submarine Warfare or ASW capability in the Eastern Mediterranean. Its primary role is to detect and if necessary destroy Soviet submarines from the 5th Escadra. The Orion is from Squadron VP-26 Tridents. This flight is callsign Poseidon 3. The crew includes the 3 naval aviators in the cockpit, the pilot, co-pilot and flight engineer, as well as the 2 officers and 7 enlisted personnel in the mission operations room in the cabin, whose role is to monitor the acoustic and electronic sensors. The aircraft is powered by 4 Allison T-56A14 turboprop engines, giving the Orion a patrol speed of around 200 knots and a cruise speed of around 330 knots. While the Orion can carry missiles, bombs, depth charges, torpedoes and naval mines, today's flight is unarmed. They are conducting a reconnaissance mission. The Orion lines up on the airbase's runway 29 Romeo. Throttles to full power. And takes off. Retracts flaps and landing gear. Just another day in the office, the patrol plane commander thinks as he passes the town of Chania to port. Only minutes into the flight, the crew have received an intelligence report over the secure communications equipment on board. Suda Bay to Poseidon 3. Investigate report of Soviet submarine tender spotted east of Crete. End of message. With limited littoral basing in the Mediterranean, the Soviet 5th Eskadra, or 5th Operational Squadron, relies on a series of offshore anchorages to conduct sustainment of ships and submarines at sea. Anchorages known to NATO include Hammamet off Tunisia, Herdbank east of Malta, and near the island of Kythera, around 100 kilometres northwest of Crete. The presence of a Soviet submarine tender east of Crete could indicate a new anchorage, an expansion of Soviet sustainment capability, and a handy place to find Soviet submarines. The Orion banks as it commences its patrol. Just north of the little island of Dia, the operator of the AN/ALQ-78V reports a contact. On a pylon under the wing fairing, a high-speed rotating antenna and scanning superheterodyne receiver has picked up an EM emission at 54 nanowatts. Manufactured by the Mitsubishi Corporation under license by Lockheed Martin, the antenna and receiver form part of the ECM, or Electronic Countermeasures set, on the P-3C aircraft. The set automatically detects and measures the characteristics and bearings of intercepted radar signals from surface and subsurface vessels. Alerted to the detection, the operator switches the set to direction finding mode and estimates the range at around 75 nautical miles. He reports to the TACO, who lets the pilot know. The co-pilot looks at his map and estimates they are around 10 minutes away. The pilot reduces altitude for the approach.
Roger, go to altitude 300.
As they get closer, the TACO in the mission operations room looks over the sensor operator's shoulder. He notices the passive contact has been lost. Perhaps the vessel has detected the Orion and turned off its radar. Or it was a submarine and has submerged. Either way, the crew have their game faces on. It is the height of the Cold War, and only months since the deadly cat-and-mouse games between American and Soviet fleets on the margins of the October War of 1973. At 11 nautical miles, the pilot and co-pilot both have visual sighting. And reduce speed for the flyby.
Roger, loiter.
And drop altitude.
Roger, go to altitude 50.
One of the enlisted aircrew has a camera. He is watching out the blister window on the starboard side of the aircraft, and will take a couple of dozen photos for later analysis. This sighting could be very significant. As they fly past, he recognises the ship as a Don-class submarine tender. Not underway and possibly waiting to meet a Soviet submarine. The crew of the Don watch the Orion impassively as it flies past. Little do the Americans know that beneath the Don, masked by its magnetic signature, lurks a Soviet submarine. Their morning's excitement over, the Orion returns to its patrol. The aircraft's patrol area is the Eastern Aegean Sea, from the Dodecanese Islands in the south to Mudros in the north, covering a key shipping route between Istanbul and the Suez Canal. As far as the Greek hosts at Suda Bay are aware, the aircraft is conducting a routine ASW patrol.
Roger, go to altitude 3000.
Using the MAD, or magnetic anomaly detector, in the fiberglass boom under the aircraft's tail to sweep the Eastern Aegean for Soviet submarines. But a closer look at its flight path would reveal that much of its patrol is spent at an altitude too high to use the MAD boom effectively. The aircraft's true purpose is to conduct MDA, or Maritime Domain Awareness. Specifically, the aircrew of 12 has been given a primary task to detect Soviet warships and merchant vessels travelling from the Black Sea to the Syrian naval base of Tartus in order to monitor the Soviet naval buildup. Their secondary task is to watch the Turkish coast for any sign the Turks are planning an invasion of the Greek islands off the Turkish coast. The aircraft is on patrol west of the island of Ikaria.
Track 7003 is classified neutral warship. Track 7004 is classified neutral warship.
The crew detect Soviet surface ships. And reduce altitude and close in to take photographs and gather electronic signals intelligence.
Roger, go to altitude 300. Roger, loiter.
Initial assessment by the sensor operator is one Sverdlov-class cruiser escorted by two Kashin-class frigates. The Sverdlov class is a gun cruiser armed with 4 triple-mounted 15.2cm guns and 6 twin 10cm guns. Perfect for interdicting merchant traffic, or supporting an amphibious invasion. Of immediate concern to the Orion crew are the 16 twin 3.7cm anti-aircraft guns. The Kashin BPK, or large anti-submarine warfare ships, also have an anti-air warfare capability. In addition to their two 76mm twin gun turrets, they have 2 twin launchers for SAN-1 Goa surface-to-air missiles. Fortunately, no missiles on the rails. The Kashin's crew watch the Orion fly past. A sailor on the Kashin also takes photographs of the Orion with a long telephoto lens, trying to pick out any identifying features. The navies are not at war. Nonetheless, the aircrew have to be careful and not do anything that could be misinterpreted as hostile. This grouping is probably a KUG, or Ship Strike Group. Moving south from the Black Sea to the Mediterranean, the group is another indicator of a large reinforcement of the 5th Operational Squadron over the past couple of months. Another significant detection for the Orion's crew. After the mission, photo analysts will carefully analyse these photographs to identify the vessels by type and sometimes by name. This will give the US Sixth Fleet an accurate picture of Soviet naval forces facing them in the 5th Eskadra. And the analysts will be on the lookout for any changes in configuration that hint at new weapons or radars or other capabilities. As always, the intelligence is just a little too late. Suda Bay to Poseidon 3. Investigate Hellenic Navy reports of Soviet Surface Action Group in southbound transit southwest of Chios. End of message.
Track 7012 is classified. Hostile port.
Consider it done, the TACO thinks. The Orion is flying south along the east coast of Altis. On the southbound leg of its patrol, the aircrew close in to identify an unusual detection. 5 ships in line astern. The ships appear to be heading northwest towards the port of Piogos on the island of Altis. Until recently, Altis had hosted a NATO airbase that was used as an alternate landing site by the Orion patrol aircraft. This aircrew had needed to use it some months ago when winter weather briefly closed the Suda Bay runway. While the crew guarded the aircraft, mostly against over-inquisitive Altian soldiers, the officers were invited to lunch with the governor. So the crew are aware of recent events on Altis from the news and their intelligence briefing, and the ship movements seem suspicious. A short discussion between the TACO and patrol plane commander, and they alter course to investigate. Once again, the crew are on alert. Leading the formation is a Soviet T-43 class minesweeper. Perhaps they think the British mined the harbour on their way out. Next, the Gremyashchi BPK-673, a Kanin-class destroyer. Whatever the cargo, it is clearly worth defending. Then, Ilya Azarov, BDK-104, a Tapir-class LST, NATO reporting name Alligator. Behind it, another LST, probably carrying vehicles of some kind. Bringing up the rear, the Emvry Friedrich Engels, a Soviet merchant vessel, probably carrying supplies. The Orion flies through the formation, cameras clicking furiously, antenna greedily sucking in electronic data. The TACO shakes his head and smiles. The analysts will go crazy for this. He has no idea that the contents of these mysterious crates in this unusual convoy underway to a newly proclaimed communist republic in the northern Aegean will nearly spark World War III. In the next episode, NATO intensifies its reconnaissance of communist positions on Altis and identifies the cargo on the Soviet ships. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe and donate. And stay tuned for the next episode.